Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of SW Elite. We are happy to have you joining us on Spotify or on YouTube. And the past 5 weeks, you've probably realized that we've been doing this awesome basketball IQ series, and we hope that you've joined and that you've learned a little bit about the four things that we've talked about. But today we want to do a recap of all of those items because for some of us, we may not have listened to the entire podcast or video guest, but we want to make sure you get the goods of what we have to offer in this build series because we think each one of these topics is important and you can always go back and listen. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today is just a recap. With this recap and with the build series, we didn't just focus on dribbling drills or shooting form. We focused more on the brain behind the skill. And the four things that we focused on was awareness, anticipation, decision speed, and communication. And as you listen to this podcast, ask yourself, did I become more aware? Did I anticipate a little better? Did I make decisions faster? Was my communication a little bit better? Or what do I need to work on to become a better athlete on and off the court? But we're going to dive into this and give you a little recap. And yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, thanks for joining us again. We have loved this build series, and I think sometimes we overthink things, and we tried to simplify this for all of you who are listening, and hope that you'll realize a lot of times less is more, meaning the simple things can be really powerful. We want you to focus on the little things because it will lead to great things. I love that we're focusing on build. Right, our word for SW Elite this year is build. Not only building you as an athlete and a basketball player or whatever sport or extracurricular activity it is that you're in, but we're building you as a human and as a better person because really that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So remember that as we build, it's not to chase, it's not to rush, it's not to compare, it's to build you. So we talked about these different areas. We want you to build that. Elite players build over time. It doesn't just happen overnight, meaning you build through awareness, through repetition, and through intentional thinking. And if you don't do those things, you're still going to build to some degree, but you're not going to build and become who you can become to the extent and to the level that you're able to. Basketball IQ is not something you're born with. It's interesting how a lot of people will say, well, they're just a natural. It is true. Some people have more natural ability in certain areas, and athletics being one of them. But IQ is something you have to learn, and it gets better. And I think even in my personal life, I feel like IQ was probably a little more natural than some people. However, it was not great when I first started playing basketball. It developed over time. It came with work ethic, trying to understand how to see things better, watching game film or watching NBA players or watching college basketball. That's what made me get better. So as we go through these today and kind of recap everything, we really invite you to understand this takes work. And if you're not willing to put the work into it, you're not going to get to where you ultimately want to be. So my favorite kind of analogy is working as a doctor in my profession. If you think about it, if I graduated high school and I jumped straight to seeing patients and clients and came at them with a scalpel or came at them with a needle, I don't know how confident those people would be in me, right? Well, the same applies in basketball, it's just in a different realm. A lot of you think, oh, I should be starting varsity or I should play college basketball. And you haven't even mastered being able to play really well in a sophomore JV game. And that is kind of the society we live in. There are some athletes that are talented to just be there. But even then, if they have the skill and the physical ability, they might not have the basketball IQ or the mental stamina. This is a process. So don't just get frustrated or annoyed that maybe you have to take these steps. Remember, there's joy in the journey. And that's what we want you to have, not only in building your basketball IQ, but also building you to become the athlete you want to become.
And one thing I think about as well is about the joy in the journey, like sometimes like the most joy that you're going to find is in these moments where you are working and doing so many reps over and over and over. Those are where the memories are made. Yes, the games are going to be fun and you're going to have those highlight reels and all the fun things you can look back and you can have your glory days or whatever you want to call them, but you'll remember the work that you put in and the effort and the sacrifices and the the coaches, the teammates, all that helped you become the player or person you are becoming but we have to be willing to, once again, sacrifice our time, our effort, and our energies to become a better player and to stop complaining and waiting for things to be handed to us, because a lot of things in life you have to work for, and to be successful you have to work for things. And that kind of leads into the first topic that we talked about, is awareness. Are we aware of what's going on around us? Are we aware of the people that are around us, and how can we better understand like where our feet are? um it's like in a basketball sense, like awareness is knowing like where your defenders are. We can see where our teammates are out on the floor. Understanding spacing and timing, and that one's huge. And that I feel like understanding spacing and timing comes with a lot of repetition and a lot of practice and a lot of patience. And as we learn how to understand those three things, we'll be able to read the game a little bit more. We'll be able to see the game come to us, and we'll be able to not be as panicked when we're on the floor. I think about like high intensity games where you like turn the ball over like 7 times just because you're nervous, or you don't really know what's happening. You're not aware of like where your feet are, where the ball is, where your feet are. You may be dribbling off your foot, or you may not be taking the wide open shots because you're nervous of where the defender's going to be. But it's just like taking a breath and being where your feet are. And I think that kind of goes into like the people with a high basketball IQ, like they don't get surprised on the court. They're present, they're locked in, and they're scanning consistently. It's having your head on a swivel and knowing what's happening. And there's this quote, and it says, "If you don't know what's happening around you, the game will always feel fast." And I think that's like in life as well. Like if we're not aware of what's going on, like we may miss an opportunity that presents itself, but we're just so in such a quick, fast-paced environment where sometimes that awareness is like, like in one ear and out the other. But if we can slow down, and I think that that starts with our breathing, slowing down your breath and taking time. Like you have all the time in the world. Like, I mean, you have 35 seconds. That's a long time. Most of the time, like you're probably shooting the ball with like 22 seconds left on the shot clock.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, that's 22 seconds that you have to go play defense. Like most of you want to play offense and score, but like it's like being aware of the shot clock. Are we using that time wisely? And that kind of builds into like, are we using our time wisely? Are we aware of how we're spending our time? We hope that as you listen to the awareness podcast, where you could take some mental notes or some physical notes and be like, okay, am I aware of how I spend my time? Am I aware of where my feet are when I'm on the court? Am I aware of who I'm defending? Am I aware of what play we're running and where I'm supposed to be? Am I aware of the open spaces? Do I know where my teammates are going to be? But as you build your awareness, your mind becomes quicker. You start to think quicker. And that leads into our next topic, which is you're able to anticipate better. So,
Yeah, these totally build off of each other, and that's what I love about it. I was thinking about anticipation, so I want you to kind of visualize for a minute with me. Have you ever been playing defense against a team who's taking the ball out of bounds? And whether it was you or your teammate, you ended up with your back to the ball, and the person who's throwing the ball in throws the ball off your back, scores right behind you, and you realize that you did not even see where the ball was at. I feel like if you look at some reels or highlights, hopefully that makes sense, but sometimes people will just throw it off your back. You didn't even see the ball, bucket to them. I've seen that actually happen quite a few times, more in high school basketball than college. But when I think about that, I think about not only that being your awareness of knowing and seeing where the ball is, it's also anticipating, like, okay, the teams in this lineup are set up. Where are they probably going to look to get the ball? Where are they going to anticipate to put that to help, whether they have a post that's really tall, maybe they have a good shooter on the wing, they're anticipating. Well, you can anticipate on how you're going to react. And so as I was thinking about that, really you're predicting reactions, whether that's on the offensive or defensive end. and you start to recognize patterns. A lot of teams will run the same plays because of players and certain scores. So being able to become an anticipation type player requires some things. You need to be able to read defense and offense. You need to start to gauge space. And I would probably add into that like angles, like your anticipation of, okay, my shot, if I'm shooting here, if I go for a layup or shot here, I need to get the ball up higher on the glass. I mean, math, you could say that's mathematics, geometry a little bit more in basketball, but your angles, even in your passing, like if you're parallel to your teammate or who you're trying to pass to, you're more likely to have that ball be turned over instead of creating angles and good passes to your teammates. And so there is a lot to be said about the anticipation, but with the spacing. So being able to do that, predicting a pass, right? Are you able to get your hands in passing lanes or get that still because you weren't just ball watching, you were moving, you were in the right spot? And then time your moves, right? If you're offensively trying to attack, can you time it to beat your defender instead of just kind of going through the motions? And so I love this thought of anticipation and how we can improve our outcomes by being more aware, like Shalyse talked about, and anticipating the next steps. So, some of the things that are important is your eyes. A lot of times you can read players because they'll telegraph where they're passing a ball. So, become aware of being able to read people's eyes. For me, just teaching players where to put their eyes on a defender. It's amazing how many people have not been taught to kind of look at the chest or the core. They used to say numbers, but now I think numbers can be all over on a jersey. But if you think about it, like belly button to mid chest, that's the core or like center of a person. So if they're going to go a certain direction, that's got to lead that way. So for me, I might not be the fastest player on the court when I'm playing faster girls, but if I pay attention to where they're going and where they're moving, if I'm paying attention on the core, I'm going to be able to anticipate and get there or beat them to that spot. It also ties into momentum. I was thinking about situational drills that you run with your team or your teammates and how you're starting to try to anticipate what could happen. We could be down 5 with a minute left. We could be up 6 with 2 minutes left. We could be tied and there's 30 seconds left. Maybe it's a game-winning free throw. When you put yourself in positions to train, that means come the actual real situations in a game, you're going to be able to be ahead of it. I love how on this screen you can see play one step ahead. That's where your practice really comes in. You learn to read early, you react faster, and then you're able to dominate. So remember that elite players don't play necessarily faster, they play earlier. They anticipate the next steps that they can do or that the other team might do and how to react to that.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into like that decision speed because then you're going to be able to know what you got to do. You can anticipate if you got to pass, shoot, drive, or hold on to it for dear life and count down from 5 because there's 5 seconds left and you can't turn the ball over. You can hold it. But it's anticipating what's going to come next, and we have to know and think um, about what we're going to do. It's making smart and fast decisions. And that comes with like being patient and taking your breath. Like we can all take a breath and count to 3 before we have to make a decision. Because a lot of times we get the ball, we receive a pass, and it's automatically dribble. And we don't get into our triple threat motion. And we could have a wide open shot, but we're just so focused of like wham, bam. And it's frustrating as a coach because you see the wide opening and you're like, you just took one dribble. There's nothing more frustrating than having a person just take one wasted dribble and pick it up and turn it over. And it's because either they're scared, they're not aware of what's happening, they're not anticipating, and their decision speed's a little slower, or they panic. With building decision speed, this comes highly with your confidence. And it's in your confidence where it shows up. So it's like seeing the right play, trusting that your teammates are going to come set the screen and not on a person and not on air. They're not confident in that decision speed, or the guard isn't creating that space to bring their player into the person that's setting the screen for them. Or they're a little bit late. That person's decision speed of setting the screen, they're late to the play. They don't know if they should shoot, and a lot of people in the younger groups, they forget to roll on the screen. And so the roll is wide open, but we forget it's that decision speed. We have to react. And it goes into Newton's first law of when a thing is in motion, it stays in motion. And if we keep our brains moving and as we keep our feet moving, like we're thinking. If you notice that you're standing still and you're just sitting in the corner for a hot minute, your brain turns off. Or your brain goes into hyperdrive and is thinking so many things of like, what about this? What about that? Da, 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 da. Where if like you're moving and you're engaged and you have your eyes and your head on a swivel, you'll be able to know if a pass is coming to you. You'll be able to see the open spot for a shot. You'll be able to come to the pass and receive the pass with two hands and not have it bounce off of your foot. But with decision speed as well, a lot of us like to hesitate. And a lot of us ask that question of like, well, did I do it right? I can tell you that most of the time you're doing it right. When you're not thinking, you're just having a good time, you're in the right spot. It's when we overthink and when we hesitate or when we question is when those mistakes will come. And fast decisions create separation. And so like, we're not going for perfection, we're going for progress. And that progress is going to bring clarity. And the more clear that we can see those passes, those shots, those drives, that decision speed will come quicker. So that way, when the ball is in our hands, we're confident in holding the ball. It's not a hot potato. And we can hold it with confidence and we can be like, okay, I got 3 seconds. What am I going to do? Am I going to pass it? Am I going to shoot it? Am I going to drive it? Am I going to rip the ball and not let them grab it from me and have a turnover? It's being smart and being fast, but you don't have to be fast to be smart.
Mic drop. Just kidding. Love it. It's true. These totally do go into each other, and we hope you will take this time to see it. I know that sometimes you might think, oh, it's these two older women just throwing all this information at me. I promise we've been around long enough. Yes, that comes with years. But more importantly, these are things we're seeing in all different realms of basketball. From coaching high school to comp girls to junior jazz to even college players with interactions and things I've been able to have. It's at all levels. And we want you to help yourself learn these skills earlier so you can have that edge and be elite above those that you're playing with. So the last part of our build series was focusing on communication. So I don't know about you, but just like Shalyse talked about, when Newton's law of motion is in motion, do you think about the energy that comes, right? If your car did not have things in motion, would you get anywhere? No, your car wouldn't move. It'd stay stuck right where it was. You think about riding a bike. If you just sat on the bike seat and didn't pedal, you're not going to go anywhere. Well, the same applies in communication. As soon as communication's dead, your gym's dead, your energy's low. It's a struggle. So it's so important to find ways that you can best communicate with your teammates. You do not have to be the loudest person. If you are, kudos to you. You can use those skills to help, but you do not have to be the loudest person on your team to be an effective communicator. That's what we care most about, is for you to be effective. So don't overlook this. This is actually a crucial key and actually probably one of the biggest ones players struggle with. They'll communicate for a quarter or a few seconds, but very few teams master this and figure out how to do it all 4 quarters. And when they do, that's when you find teams that are truly successful. So remember, communication is not just communicating, it's actually leadership. Your communication is leadership. How you communicate expresses that leadership. Communication is awareness out loud, meaning you're expressing the things you're aware of, and it makes everyone better. Do you think about it? How does being quiet help your team? It doesn't. You're not living or being and playing to your fullest potential. So it is important that you figure out how you can communicate. Simple things can be calling out screens. I don't know about you, but it really hurts when you get screened hard. and your teammate does not tell you that there is a screen coming. You can tell your teammates where to go. Maybe you have some younger teammates or less experienced, or maybe somebody was out injured and they're coming back. You can use it to help them get in the right place or be in the right situation so they can be successful and your team can be successful. You can communicate switches on defense or alert them to that. You can bring energy because a quiet gym is not a fun place to play. I'll tell you, there's gyms I've been in that I'm like, there's just a weird feel here, and it's because quieter. It's much more enjoyable and fun when there's people in the crowds and cheering and noise. Same applies in a game. That's what helps bring the energy. So remember, quiet players don't control games. Connected teams do. So if your team's really struggling to be successful, where's your communication at? And more importantly, where is your communication at? Are you good at it on the court? And I will tell you right now, a really good way to evaluate your communication skills is how are they off the court? Can you communicate with your parents? Can you communicate with your teachers or your leaders in whatever form that is? Can you communicate with your friends, or is it all on Snap or TikTok or text messages? If it's all electronic, you're missing out on the true connection that comes from voice to voice and being able to be around people and experience that connection. So be a leader and be a vocal commander. Don't just sit back and wait for somebody else to do it. Step up, because it really will make a difference for you and your team. Your voice can change a possession before the ball ever moves. It's pretty cool to think about the power of what communicating can do and how well it will impact your team.
And I would say this one is probably, if we had to rank them, I would say communication is probably number one, because it's going to be what helps you understand your awareness, your decision speed, and your anticipation. And it just helps build that unity. And I think the more we communicate on and especially off the court, we'll be able to become those elite leaders that we all want to be. And with this basketball IQ, it's not just one skill, it's a system. So you probably already figured that out because you guys are really, really smart. You're like, wow, these all tied together. It's kind of like they all mesh. It's like a system. Yes, you are correct. And so awareness shows you the options. And there's so many options out there, but we have to be aware of what there is. Anticipation predicts what's coming. Sometimes you may know exactly what's happening, like, at least for me, like in a work sense, like I know what project is coming, or I know who may come and talk to me, or think about like high school, or like, ooh, I think this boy likes me. I think he's gonna ask me to a dance. Like you kind of have like that anticipation, like you see him talking with his friends, or his friends are talking about you, or you're talking about him, and it's like that anticipation building. You're like, just ask already, or whatever it may be, but like you can see it coming, and then your decision speed chooses the play. And you can say yes or no if you're gonna go to the dance, or to accept, or to like accept an offer, or whatever it may be. And then communication multiplies the impact, and you have to respond. And that's the thing, like a lot of us are like delay the response. And so like, are we communicating and responding at a quick pace, or are we having people hang? And like, yes, it comes with time and balance, and all of us are busy and all that stuff, but like make sure you are responding to the people that are important to you. Um, and as you're communicating with them, like let them know how you feel. Like be that leader, be that vocal commander, be that friend that people can come and talk to you, because that goes a long way. And the thing is, if one of these pieces is missing, the system is going to break down. And I think is the one thing, if you're not communicating, I think the system's just going to shut down completely. And so, um, I mean, you'll still have those things as well. Like you can be aware without communicating, you can anticipate without communicating, and you can have decision speed, but it's not going to be as pretty if you're not communicating on the floor. As like what said, like we've all been in gyms where it's quiet and it's just like that eerie feeling, and you can like hear like a pin drop, and you're like, or like someone makes a mistake, or or like they skid on the floor, and I was like, ooh, and it's like quiet, and then it's just like you don't know whether to laugh or to cry for them or to just stay silent. But like learn how people like to communicate. Um, but as you build all four of these, some of the things that can happen for you is you can become calmer under pressure. You won't have all that anxiety build up. You can become more consistent, and we need to become more consistent. There's a quote that I heard is motivation is just a feeling, and everybody thinks that we just have to have motivation to do the things. Yes, motivation is important, it's a feeling, but it's consistency that stays. And we have to be consistent and more consistent. You'll be more trusted by your coaches and your teammates, and you'll become a more valuable player to your team. And as you build these things, like, this is how you can earn more minutes. And a lot of us just want the highlights, but the highlights are going to be few and far in between.
Mhm.
And to have those highlights, you need to have those minutes. And if you want the minutes, you got to be able to sacrifice opening your mouth and being a communicator and being that leader on the court, being able to call out screens, being able to help your teammates, being able to make the best decision for your team and not turning the ball over. But that all comes with time and with practice, and that will come. You just have to trust yourself and show up. And as you show up and be consistent and go game speed at practice and not goof off, make your time valuable and make it worth it to be there. Because as you sacrifice your time and as you make your time more valuable, you will become that elite player that you want to be. And as you become that elite player on the floor, it's going to carry over into your other life as well. Your social, your spiritual, your intellectual, emotional, all the other parts of a human being. It will carry over. And that's super important as well because basketball is something that we do. It's not who we are. And we have to remember that. It's a privilege to play basketball and it could be gone just like that. But we're still people off the court. And all these things are super important off the court as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Such good advice to remind you that you are more than the game. You are totally more than the game. And it makes the game more enjoyable when you're doing that with people who treat you like a person. So you be that person that treats your teammates like humans, that shows respect on and off the court. It will take you far in life for sure. So we've talked about this basketball IQ. So why and now what? Or maybe some questions you have, or maybe you're trying to consider, okay, well, what can I do to keep growing and getting better? So just know that this series and these points don't end just because we're finishing this series. Remember, this is where you get to move forward and now put them into action. So what is your job? Now you can actually watch the game differently. Be more aware. How could I anticipate things better? Practice with intention. If you're just showing up to have a good time and goof off and oh, I'm here to have a party, you probably shouldn't be playing varsity level basketball. So don't get mad if your coaches don't give you those minutes. Part of being a varsity player or a college basketball player is putting in the work and showing up, being ready to put that work in. Yes, we want you to have fun. Yes, we want you to enjoy it, but it does come with work and effort, not just half efforts or faking it. Remember to reflect on your reps. I truly feel like somebody who's willing to look at themselves and evaluate where they've been and what they've done will really help them get far in life. And then make sure you ask better questions. We hope that these topics, so awareness, anticipation, building your decision speed, and being able to communicate better, keyword communicate, will help you ask your teammates and your coaches questions to do the things that will help get you to that next level, that will take your game from maybe a C to a B and from a B to an A. Or what if I just went with grades because that's what we're used to in our society. But we want to get you to that next level that helps you feel even more confident. And like Shalyse said, we want you to all have more minutes. We want you to all play better consistently. Cool if you had like a 30-point game, but if that's only once your entire career, I mean, great. Kudos to you. That's awesome. But how much cooler would it be if you had a consistent 15, 20, maybe even 25 points and you were able to have 4 or 5 rebounds and 3 or 4 assists? That combined part of your game will really be beneficial. So ask yourself, what do I see today? What did I predict correctly and what did I predict incorrectly? Where did I hesitate? Where am I lacking confidence? How do I communicate? How's my body language? Not just your verbal communication, but your body language communication. Your actions speak a lot louder than words sometimes do. You can't really fake that, I will tell you. When you're around people long enough, you can start to read them. So remember, elite players evaluate themselves daily. It's that 1% better that we've discussed previously in the book by Atomic Habits from James Clear. 1% better. Elite players will look at themselves daily to see how they can improve and get better. So,
Absolutely. And so that's what your challenge is going to be. And a lot of you are like, well, my season's already over or my season's about to wrap up. But guess what? Remember, basketball is something we do, not who we are. And so if you are fortunate enough to where you still have more games this week, implement it into your practices and into your games. And if you are done with basketball season, implement it into your daily life. And so it could be post practice, post class, whatever class you're in, post working, whatever it is. After you complete something, ask yourself or write down these four things. One, what's one thing you saw clearly? Two, what's one thing you anticipated correctly? Three, what's a decision you made that you're proud of? And four, what moment in your communication helped you or your team? Like, I opened my mouth and this helped this person. Or I called the screen and my teammate didn't get rammed. But whatever it is, it's just like being aware, taking time and writing down how we're winning. And these can be your wins. We want to write down our wins. And as we can see our wins each day, we're going to want to get more wins every single day. And this is your bonus challenge. Bonus. So as you write down your goals, share one takeaway and post it on your Instagram story and tag us at SW Elite because we want to share your wins. We want to hear your wins and we want to share them with our community. One way we can do that is sharing, and that's what we'll be doing as well, is we're going to share our wins for the day. And so it may not happen early in the morning, but could be at night. Be like, okay, by 8 p.m., I'm going to share my win. My win for today is I ate dinner by 6 p.m. That's a win. There can be so many different things, and we're all in different parts and things in our lives, and it's fun. And it's fun to communicate with people and see what other people are up to because that's how we build and that's how we become more elite is being able to connect with people and celebrate each other and celebrate our wins. And we got to start building each other up and celebrating instead of taking people down. We are excited to hear your wins and we're excited to share our wins with you. And just remember, elite players don't just practice. They build with intention. So think about that. How can you better build with your intention? We're super happy to have you here, to have you listening. We love you guys, and we are grateful for your support. And we want you all to become elite players on and off the court. If you have yet to subscribe, please subscribe below. And we will catch you next week. And we hope you have a great week, guys. See you later.